And now let's bring in CBS News correspondent Ling. Ling, good to see you today. There's a big question of what impact this ruling will have on the economy.
Yeah, well, the average American household was losing their about $1,700 in real income due to these tariffs. So as we look at the major economic impact, this was an economic blow to the president's agenda without question. And we're hearing from small businesses all around the country who have really suffered from these tariffs, who have felt that they've had to raise their prices on their consumers over the last year to absorb some of that incoming cost. And just reading some of these texts here that we're getting incoming from small businesses. Beth Beneke, the CEO of Busy Baby Map in Zimbrata, Minnesota, down in southern Minnesota, she tells me this is a major relief. This is bittersweet. Now her job, she says, is to figure out how small businesses like hers can get refunded, as Jan Crawford was talking about just now. Emily Lay, CEO of Simplified, it's a really popular stationery and planner business. She's down in Sarasota, Florida. She told me this morning she's thrilled, in all caps, that she's relieved. And you know, she's been going for about 20 years. She says she's never had a challenge like this before. In a separate lawsuit, she sued the Trump administration on similar grounds to what we saw today out of the Supreme Court. And she is now also going to be seeking refunds and trying to regroup and figure this out. And for so many small businesses, this has really been about whether or not they can grow, whether or not they have to lay off workers, and also, of course, prices. So when it comes to prices that you're paying, for example, at the grocery store, we do expect to see prices drop more immediately on like fresh fruits and veggies, but other things like apparel and other types of imports, those decreases may take a little bit more time, Mugo.
And Jolene, we know that the Supreme Court didn't really mention much about just the avenue into which people can get refunds, but I'm sure that's what those business owners are looking for, right?
Yeah, that is what they're looking for. And of course, all of this takes time. And just as tariffs took a long time to actually, have a major economic impact, we're now seeing the reverse of that. We're just in stage one, just, an hour or two into this. But what the small businesses are telling me is that they feel like they have some clarity here. And what's also interesting, too, is what the Small Business Coalition is saying here. They said, they have paid the tariffs and they deserve their money back. And this coalition is saying American small businesses, not foreign governments, paid billions of dollars in IEEPA tariffs. They have dipped into their personal savings, taken out high interest loans, laid off employees, and cut wages to cover costs. That is really borne out in the reporting that we've done over the past year. And so the Small Business Coalition, they want every single dollar returned.
And Jolene, I'm not sure this is a question we have an answer to because this ruling just came down today. But for those watching thinking, well, prices went up because of tariffs, what does that mean for me? Do we have an answer to that?
I think it's going to be very gradual. You may see more impact on grocery items like fresh fruits and vegetables, but then when it comes to electronics, apparel, other types of goods that have a longer lead time when it comes to manufacturing, that will be slower. But remember, we're also dealing with decisions from major companies who are also parsing through this decision and trying to figure out what it means for them. And I'm talking about Target, Walmart, Amazon, all of your big box stores. Those companies are going to look very closely at what this means. And remember, back in the pandemic, when we saw so much inflation between 2020 and 2025, companies did not necessarily cut their prices when, say, the supply chain issues were more resolved. So the big question I have here is, what will happen to prices? Will they actually go down, or will companies elect to potentially leave them where they are? We'll have to wait and see, and we'll be watching all of those quarterly earnings reports as those CEOs speak out on this issue.
Oh, yeah, we know you will. Ling, thank you so much for your time today.